Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Haunt Talk. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing a Blood Prison Haunted House. It's been pretty much an annual one of ours for quite a while now. Kim has the Warden's Widow here that she just got finished. Unfortunately, this is the first time you get to see it on the channel, but it has already been claimed by one of the patrons. Which we'll talk about more about that in a minute. But yes, if you're unfamiliar, Blood Prison is inside of the old Ohio State Reformatory, a giant castle-looking spooky prison where Shawshank and all that was filmed. And they do have an optional touch pass, which is what we will be reviewing on, and that is the way to go. And it has been a favorite of ours. It's won Haunt of the Year, many times and all of that. So if you're interested in hearing what this show is like, make sure to stick around for our review of Blood Prison. But yeah, before we get into the review, as Kim was showing earlier with Warden's Widow, I don't know what you want to call these. What do you call them? Like little doll creature dolls. Things? Yeah. Because she did make two, and she's made two of all of them, and we've already given this and Grandma and Grandpa Carver to the respective actors that play them. But all of our patrons, and it's a first come first served thing, can claim one of them. The Warden's Widow and the Pumpkin Smasher have been claimed, but all of the other ones are still available. My other personal favorite that hasn't been claimed yet is what is PJ's character's name?
Oh, Fester.
Yeah, with his creepy little removable
he's got a little skin mask
yeah. Yeah, my favorite three is Warden, the Pumpkin, and that one. I love the Carvers and that are really cool too, but I think it's just because the design of these characters is just cool as it is. So they make cool little felt doll things. But yeah, again, you just have to message me on Patreon. You have to be at least any tiered, can't be the free tier, but any paid tier of our Patreon, and you will get one. We'll be shipping them out in the next couple weeks. So anyways, that being said, the pull up to Blood Prison, there's not a lot to talk about. I mean, the main thing is seeing the prison. If you haven't been there before, it's intimidating, and it was cool. We got to bring someone for their first time with us this year, so that was really getting to see his reaction and stuff. He had never been there even for a normal tour.
I mean, that's the reason that building was built the way it was, is to be intimidating for the inmates when they were first bringing them in there, to be like, oh my god, I'm in this giant castle fortress.
Yeah, the place is really cool. And in the midway, they have some stuff. They have, it looks like they had a couple games, a couple food booths or mostly fair food, stuff like that. I think
they had some vendors and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, they did have some vendors this year. I think they usually do, but yeah, and they do have some entertainment while you wait in line and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, the real show starts when you enter. But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably enough prefacing of all of that, so we'll go ahead and get into the categories, which as always means we must refer to the Book of the Dead! Book of the Dead! Book of the Dead! Book of the Dead! Alright, so as always, we're going to start with sets and props. And, I mean, we aren't going to probably go in super detail every set, because a lot of them have remained unchanged, but there have been some new things. So, the first area you enter, you go through a little photo op area. But once you actually get into the haunt proper, you go through, it's a pretty traditional, haunted house.
Yes.
Is, the first section.
I think it's actually supposed to be the Warden's house. Or Warden Widow's house.
Yes, I do believe you are correct.
Yeah. So, yeah, you go into, your typical rooms. The first room is, got a really cool fireplace and things. You see bedrooms, stuff like that. It did look like there were a few new things in the house.
Yeah, well, there's definitely two new scenes.
Yeah. One was a laundry room, which was really neat. They had some old-fashioned laundry machines in there and some clothes hanging and some bodies hanging. It's
kind of funny because I didn't really pay attention too much to that. I just thought it was an attic because it had vaulted ceilings.
Yeah.
But it was just because we were getting tormented so much by the actors, which obviously we'll talk about in a bit, that I thought it was because I had said to Vic, who's the runner of Blood Prison, and he was like, oh, you mean the laundry room? I'm like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then they also, there's been a doll room before, but they actually made a new scene for it, which is a bedroom as well, which was pretty cool. They still have the dolls, but now it's a bedroom scene that they made. That was the only thing new in the first section, and because there's basically, it's split into 3 or 4 main sections. There's the first section, there's cell block 1, cell block 2, and then, like, the basement.
Yeah.
Well, the first section kind of is the house, which Kim just talked about, and then you go into solitary.
Yeah.
Which is always one of the freakiest. Not much to talk about sets and props because it's literally solitary confinement of the prison, and there's barely any lights, and it's just actors, and it's spooky.
Yeah.
They have some, like, droney music playing, like, heavy, like, boom, 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 like, kind of like rock-type music.
That's what always gets me. It's like, it's just so foreboding
and
loud, and you're just like, what's going to happen? And you're waiting for somebody to pop out, but you're not sure where they're going to pop out at.
It's kind of like their version of, like, a blackout section in a haunt, but way scarier because it's actually solitary confinement. Not for pretensies, for realsies. Well, not anymore, but it was, you know. And then, you go to the cell blocks, and, this is one of the biggest improvements when, it became Blood Prison and stuff, because they actually have this really decorated. The scenes themselves didn't change, like, the themes didn't change much, but it did seem like the layout, I think, was different.
Yeah. It felt a lot more, like, constricted, kind of.
Yes.
Like everything.
At least for some parts.
Yeah, because, like, they used to have, like, this fencing that you would just kind of zigzag through. Now it's, like, this whole, like, switchback, and the people are able to, like, open the gate, like, the fencing up and get you from, like, multiple spots and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool and really effective, and it was really nerve-wracking.
And this is, like, part of it's like a zombie city theme.
Yeah.
Because there's also, like, as soon as you enter, there's a tank that'll, like, blow air at you and stuff. There's crashed cars. There's a whole airplane that was added a few years ago that was really cool. Yeah. There's a hospital theme that's, like, later on in the cell blocks. You go through, like, a circus thing. Those were, from what I remember, I think, at least the circus one is pretty unchanged. That one is pretty much almost exactly how I remember it. There might have been some different stuff in the hospital one.
Yeah. I think the circus, again, was a little bit more...
There might have been
a little bit more stuff just to kind of make it, again, a little bit more close.
I think so. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. Because I remember it kind of being, like, opened up a little bit more. And this time it seems like it's a little bit closer, but it looks like they probably added things to make it that way.
Yeah. And there's a church scene that goes into a graveyard. The church is exactly how I remember it, but then the graveyard seemed a little bit different, like more low-lying fog. They had these really cool, like, ghoul-looking props that were kind of just, like, slowly moving.
So creepy.
Yeah, they were neat. One thing that was new in the cell blocks, like, the only thing that I know that was new was you actually enter a cell. Yeah. Because I guess people were, like, complaining about that.
Yeah, they wanted to go into a cell, which is like, well, get the touch pass. They usually throw you in a cell anyway. So they actually built... from what I heard is they built a cell that you actually break out of and go through, like, a wall, and then you're, like, trying to escape, and you're going through a tunnel and stuff like that, and that was all pretty new.
Yeah, that was cool.
And that was really neat.
That was new, yeah. And then the final section is the basement, which is kind of like almost like experiment themed, like that they're doing experiments. Last year they had a pretty big new section of you walk through, like, a decontamination zone and stuff like that. There's a boiler room, like, section down there, and scenes kind of like that, just experiment. They have those, like, you've seen them probably in other haunted houses where it's like the naked bodies that are, like, sewn together. Yeah. They have that stuff there, yeah. But yeah, sets and props, especially, I mean, taking into consideration the fact that it's in this old creepy prison. I think they've kind of perfected letting you still see the prison while decorating it. So, like, when you're in the first section, like, the haunted house section is just the haunted house section. Yes. Because there's really, that part is just a haunted house. And then you get to solitary, and that's, like, just prison. And then you get to the cell block, and it's kind of like a marriage of both. Because you can tell you're there. Yes. But they've also set dressed it really nice. Like, for example, the church has a lot of growing vines and stuff like that. Fog, lighting, all of that. But they haven't hid the fact that you're in these giant cell blocks. And if you haven't been to Ohio State Reformatory, like, it's like multiple levels of cell blocks, but it's a big open room, and it's really spooky and like Silent Hill kind of looking type of situation if you've never seen that. It's really cool how they lit it too, because they actually have like searchlights and stuff that are going up into the cells. So you actually do have to kind of look, because you're like, why is that light going there? And you're like, oh crap, and you just see this towering wall of cells, and it's really awesome to see. Right. And then the basement also just ends in pretty much being themed just like a more traditional haunted house. Yeah. But yeah, sets and props, we gave it a 10 because, it's especially for the type of haunt that it is, it's just phenomenal. There's not much more they could do, because again, the first part in the basement are like permanent, but the cell blocks they have to take down and rebuild every year. And the fact that they're able to do so much detail and fill it up with so much is really impressive. Yeah. All right, so now we're getting to actors. Now, again, we are reviewing with Touch Pass, and I highly recommend that you get the Touch Pass. Now, I'm not saying it's not worth it if you don't get the Touch Pass, but it's only, we'll talk about this in value, but it's only $7 more. You should try it. If it's too much, it's one where you can take it off of your neck and that. But yeah, so this place, and we've talked about it before, this is probably the most brutal Touch Pass.
It's rough.
Right. Now, they don't do any BS, meaning they don't shock you or, like, hurt you really or anything like that, but they are rough. Like, it's more than just a, touch. It's like we're going to grab you and slam you against a wall, shove you into your other people. It's wild.
Yeah, we're gonna grab your shoulder and just kind of yeet you over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot.
One of the first guys just came running down the hallway, had this giant, like, fake sledgehammer in it, and just basically rammed me with the hammer. And while grabbing Isaac, who was in front, and throwing him. And, and he was, like, banging on things and running all around. Something that was really cool that I think it's new for this year. So last year they added a new, like, parlor scene to the first room of the haunted house. Yeah. But this year, they also had someone on a bungee that was flying around up on the ceiling.
That was really cool. Yeah. I noticed that, too. I was like, oh, my gosh, there's somebody up there.
Yeah, and I don't remember there being anyone flying around on the ceiling up there last year. Maybe they just weren't there, but yeah. And also, I will say that this year, they definitely seemed pretty heavy on actors. There was very little dead space, and the little bit of dead space there was, we were just like, thank God.
Need that little reprieve, yeah.
There was a really cool, like, triple scare, like the parlor, there's 3 actors. There's the one up there, one on a bench, one in a coffin. Then we walked to the next room, and there's, like, 2 or 3 more people that popped out of nowhere, just grabbing and throwing. There's a real fun lady, and she always does this in the kitchen scene, who has a wooden spoon, who spanks you if you have the Touch Pass as you go by, just clocks you.
And it hurts.
It stings a little. Yeah, she spanks you. Yeah. One of the new scenes, the doll room, like, she was really good. Like, she started on the bed, and then she's crawling around and, like, going under the bed, grabbing her ankles and stuff.
I was afraid I was going to step on her.
Yeah. And it can be hard to remember everything because it's so overwhelming, like, with the way they will, like, just grab you and run with you sometimes. Yeah. Which you don't do that. They don't do the running with you too much in the house because it's more confined. Yes. But, yeah, we'll talk about some of the others in here in a minute. But yeah, then you get down to Solitary, and Solitary's really spooky because the main 2 things they have is they have people with, like, little flashlights. They have people with those, like, fake shockers because things that make light and noise. They also think it's someone with, like, an Aruga horn that also lit up.
Yeah, and they also had some boo pedals going with bright lights and noises and stuff too.
So you're just walking in complete darkness. All you hear is that bass, like thumping, and all of a sudden someone just comes in your face. Like, you can't even see them. Like, you might see a silhouette, and you're like, what the hell did I just see? And all of a sudden, like, you're in their face and they're grabbing you, and it gets wild in there. And I mean, there's not too much to talk about there, but it's just super spooky because you just cannot see them until they're there, basically. And then you get into the cell blocks, which I think the cell blocks, I don't know, I like to say it's the most intense, but then the basement was pretty messed up this year too.
Yeah.
But the zombies are real crazy because, they're zombies, so they want to eat you and stuff, and so they, they won't bite you, but they'll, like, grab your arm and stuff on it.
I mean, he wasn't, like, actually biting me, but there was a guy that he came at me, like, 3 separate times, and he was just gnawing on my arm.
There was one, I think he was a zombie, because, like, it's kind of a mixture of, like, zombie and, like, people in the army. Yeah. They're, like, fighting the zombie, but he had a dismembered hand, and he kept grabbing us and holding us and just smacking us in the head with the hand, like, over and over again. And then he'd go get someone else. Yeah. And they just come out of nowhere. The sliders are some of the freakiest, because, like, their sliders are already kind of startling, because they will slide at you. But they'll slide at you and then just start, like, grabbing you with their little clickety hands, like, at your ankles, or they'll, like, fly up. One guy legitimately just jumped, like, on Stevie's back. I, like, turn around and I see Stevie, my cousin, behind me, and, like, I just see him put his hands on his shoulders and just, like, leap. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I didn't see that. I think I was being chewed on by that guy. I didn't get to see that.
It was hard to tell what was happening. Like, I could see what was happening to Isaac because he was in front of me, and I was second. But it's hard for me to see what was happening to Stevie and Kim and I because, we're all just getting, beaten up by all these actors. And yeah, at one point, like, some guy, like, came and grabbed me and Isaac by, like, I think he grabbed me by the neck, and he, like, I think he had us both by the neck, and he just started running with us and took us and, like, held us in the scene because, like, they caught up with us eventually because they were holding us in the scene. And then, like, this other actor was, like, doing stuff to us while he was, like, holding us in place, like, making us watch these things. I think he told us he had to, like, show us something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And she's always a standout. So there's a nun in the church scene, and usually she douses people with holy water.
Yeah.
But this time she started, like, at the back of the church, like, where we entered, and she just kept, like, jumping on top of the pews, mainly getting my cousin.
Yes. So she kept going after Stevie, and it was just so funny because, nuns have those long dresses and stuff, and she was dressed traditional. She had the tights on, the shoes, everything. So she would hike up her skirt, climb over the pew, and grab Stevie, then let him go and let him walk around. Then she would go to the next pew, do the same thing, hike up her skirt, and go over. It was just so funny to watch her, just so dedicated to getting him every single time he passed by one of those pews. It was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, she got me too, and I think the rest of us, like, she had pretty long nails, and this is something that they do sometimes at Blood Prison that sometimes is a little uncomfortable, is they'll, like, lightly scratch you with their nails.
Yeah.
Or just kind of dig them into you a little bit. Not, like, that bad, but enough where you're like, ow, The hospital people, I will say, I didn't have the woman that likes to hold my eyes open and spray water in it this time, so that was nice. She did put me in a headlock, but and there was one, I forget what scene it was, but they were, like, really pulling on my hair too, like, to the point where I had to, like, hold my head back so, like, the little bit of hair I have left didn't get ripped out.
Yeah, at one point the guy grabbed my hair pretty good, and I'm like, ow, like, and he probably took a chunk out.
Yeah. The clowns, there's that one clown that always has the head in a string that, like, throws it at you, and they're very tormenting and taunting and stuff like that. But just in general, they're just, again, very, very extreme, I will say here. And then you get to the basement, and that was kind of a blur because I got grabbed and held, like, they literally, like, he held my arm up like this and, like, had my head down, and I was going like that, and made me go to the back, and then the whole time someone else came and just kept coming, just poking or just doing that, and they just kept shoving me into Kim over and over again. They would grab me, hold me back, and then just push me, and then I'm running into Kim, and I'm trying to grab her so she's not falling. And probably the most intense one that happened at the very end, this guy must have knew us. He was the chainsaw guy. He was, like, running up and down Kim's back, and he said something to you.
He said, "I'll see you later tonight, Kim."
And then he actually didn't chainsaw me, but he shut the chainsaw off, and he turns around and he goes, "Josh, I've been waiting for you." And he grabs me and pins me up against this wall, and I don't know, he's saying all kinds of stuff, and he's, like, hitting me around and stuff. And then, like, again, because I was against the wall, I couldn't see what was behind me, and then he, like, pulls me a little bit to the right or whatever, and he says, "Now it's time to join your friends." And he shoves me, and I'm like, oh my god, he's shoving me into the wall, and I almost fell because apparently there was a door behind me that I didn't see, and all of a sudden, like, I go through the wall, turn around, and they're now behind me again. And they're like, "Where'd you come from?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Apparently through this hole." Like, and it was just so surreal, and I literally just went, bloop, and I just ran up the stairs. I'm like, "I'm good," and I just ran away.
It was funny.
And I'm sure we probably didn't mention half of the crazy stuff that happened to us.
No.
But Actors is obviously a 10. There's so many of them. They're so brutal and in your face. Like I said, it might be too intense for some with the touch pass. Except this, I think, is the most intense touch pass we go to.
I agree. Yes, definitely.
I mean, even like the ones like the Haunted Hotel, the Nightmare in Edgewood, which unfortunately that one closed down. This is its last year. Even like, Reaper's Revenge, none are as intense as they are with the touch pass here.
Yeah.
Actors are a 10. So moving on to scare factor, not much else to talk about there either. I mean, the scare factor is from those actors, but you're also in a if that wasn't enough, being one of the most intense, like, actor-driven haunts, you're in one of the spookiest, most haunted prisons in the world. So, I mean, there's that atmosphere, the noises, the sets and props. I mean, scare factor is a 10. It is one of the most scariest haunts you could go to. It just is. It's just one of the scariest haunts there is. I can't imagine anything, like, for a traditional haunted house at least, being scarier than what Blood Prison is. So now we're going to move along to value. So for the area, it is a little bit more of an expensive haunt, but you're getting a lot for that money.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like it's $35, but you can only buy it online, and I don't know if the fees are as high if you buy the tickets together, but for an individual ticket, the 2 fees add up to about $10 extra.
Yeah.
So $45, and again, the correct way to, in my opinion, to experience this haunt is with the touch pass.
Yeah.
So you're going to be, over $50 at that point per person, and that's for general, which I'm going to tell you what, you should plan on buying the fast pass just because like the lines for this place can get very, very long.
Yeah.
Even though they do time ticketing, it can get really long. The time ticketing has helped, but you're still probably going to look at least a couple hours if you're going on a weekend later in October.
Yeah.
So they have 2 fast pass options. They have Ultra Lightning, which has this like 80% cutting off of the wait. That's $55. But you still have to pay an extra $7 for Touch Pass. So, then you're still, about like, $62. Now, Instant Access is $80, but it includes the Touch Pass if you want it. Now, you don't have to take it, but, I mean, if you're paying $80 to enter a haunt, you probably are a little more enthusiast level, I would think, if you're paying $80 a person for that. But like I said, that includes the Touch Pass. So if you're already planning on doing Ultra Lightning with Touch Pass, might be worth it, but I don't know. Now, you decide. But we're basing it off of General. It took 40 minutes to get through. About 5 of those minutes were spent in little lines they have throughout to kind of sparse you.
Yeah.
Which is very greatly appreciated because, like, you really, unless you're really running, you typically won't catch up to people. And when you do catch up to people, usually soon there's going to be one of these spots that separates you again.
Yes.
And they were actually leaving a good, like, minute between each. Like, a decent amount of time for a haunt that's just busy. Like, they were doing a really good job crowd controlling, I think.
And the actors were doing it, too. Yes. I don't know if you noticed that. But, they were actually, like, dividing us up and, like, kind of, like, keeping us in areas because they knew that there were people ahead of us and stuff like that. So, it worked out really well.
Yeah, the actors are very good at doing that as well. Just one more props to them. But yeah, value, we gave it a 9.5. We think it's excellent value. I mean, even though it is a little bit more on the pricey end with all the fees and stuff like that, for the length of it, a 40-minute long haunted house with that intensity, of that quality, I mean, yeah, it's definitely that. And then overall, same as we've given it the last couple years, giving it a 10. I mean, that's the only bad thing we made a 10 is, like, I feel like this year's show's better than last year's.
Yeah.
I would say it's equal to the show we had, I believe, 2 years ago. And last year's was still a 10 because it's kind of like, we're not going to, like, give it an 11 or something silly like that.
Right, yeah.
Like, but this was better than last year. Mainly just because I felt like there was more actors, so we got, punished even more. But yeah, have you been to Blood Prison this year? What did you think of this year's show? When you're watching this, you probably have one more weekend to go in 2025. Now, they are doing a Christmas event. Now, the cell blocks is not open, but they do open the first and last section, the house and the basement. I don't think you go through solitary during Christmas. You might. I don't remember. But you definitely go through those 2 sections, though. And we've done it a couple years ago, and it's a lot of fun. We're going to try to go this year. It's going to be 2 weekends. I forget the dates, but you can go check on their website.
Very happy about that.
Yes, for sure. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like and make sure you subscribe and make sure you're ringing that notification bell so you don't miss any future upcoming videos. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.